Happy Saturday, everyone, and welcome back to Paula Froelich Uncensored. I have a hell of a show for you today because honestly, ain't it great when karma comes back around in our lifetime? I enjoy it. I have to tell you, I really do. So today we are discussing the terrible twosome, the dynamic duo, Ryan Reynolds and his bride from hell, Blake Lively. That's right. We've got a Hollywood backlash, not just against her, because I've spoken about that and I've written about it. It is also against him. We're going to get into that with Alison Boshoff, who is amazing. We're also going to talk about both of their brand collapses. The $2.1 million mansion disaster. Because, by the way, you'd think that people who are worth 300 million plus would be okay with 2.1, but apparently, no. The ongoing lawsuit with Justin Baldoni, because apparently, no, it never ends with us. And as promised, always your daily Doug. Right there, he was shoved unwillingly into a lobster outfit. It was too small, and I took it off. So all of you who have been worried about the turd bird, do not worry. He is fine. He can breathe again. We are good. Oh, my God. Juliet M. LaFerrier. Mwah. Thank you. Appreciate you. All right, let's get down to it, shall we? And let's bring up the woman of the hour, Alison Boshoff. Alison.
Hi, my darling.
I love you. Alison is across the pond, everyone. And we were going to talk about Peter Phillips's wedding, but honestly, it was just lovely. And there's nothing really to report. And frankly, Alison, you had this banger. So let me go through this real fast for people, and then we can discuss. So if you guys are not following Alison on Substack, please do so immediately. It's Alison with one L, Boshoff, Boshoff, or the Bosch. Here we go. So her story today was really interesting, and it was talking about how everyone's been talking about how it ends with a sexual harassment suit, and its collapse has damaged Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. But what about the damage to Lively's husband, Ryan Reynolds? He had by far the bigger career, and as the dust starts to settle on the whole mess, there are a number of ugly truths which emerged from the legal wrangling and now cannot be unseen. Sure, Ryan had a reputation for getting his way creatively even before this mess. And by getting his way, I think Alison meant bullying his way, but we'll discuss that. Remember Tim Miller, the director of Reynolds' smash hit film Deadpool? He left Deadpool 2 and later explained it had become clear that his leading man wanted to be in control of the script. Sound familiar? Because that's the same thing Justin said about Blake when asked about It Ends With Us, or 2. So we'll discuss that as well. Wasn't the takeover by Blake Lively of the Ends With Us movie straight from the same playbook? Whoops, yes, it was. And remember, it started with rewrites by Reynolds of the rooftop scene, which the couple strong-armed into the script. The takeover ended with Baldoni and his family sitting on Dasani bottles in the basement of the cinema on premiere night while Reynolds walked down the red carpet with his wife and his best friend, Hugh Jackman, an outcome which he had insisted on. We now know that in the weeks leading up to that day, Reynolds had furiously lobbied his powerful agents at WME against Baldoni, who he called a, quote, bucket of dum-dum juice, a, quote, melon baller lobotomy, and a human rounding error. Faced with passionate pressure from their big money client, WME dropped Baldoni. At this distance, doesn't the nice guy Ryan Reynolds look like a bully for what he did then and what happened next? And if audiences see him that way, will they buy him in the roles which have made his fortune as a nice guy? a romantic lead, a regular Joe who is an abundance of charm. He has just finished filming on the film Eloise, a kids movie, based on the beloved books about a girl who lives in New York's Plaza Hotel. The film for Netflix has been made by Reynolds' production company, Maximum Effort, and marked a new family-friendly direction for the actor. And probably to a sigh of relief from Netflix, he's not the star. His role is relatively small, and when it reaches the screen, you can expect the rest of the cast to do press. Before the Ends With Us mess, he quietly worked on an Apple film, Mayday, about the survivors of a downed jet. That is going to stream in September after being quietly moved around the schedule while the scandal raged. Apparently, Apple were slightly hesitant about when to release it. I wonder why. And it's not coming out in cinemas, which means that the acid test will be a remake of the classic movie Thunderbolt and Lightfoot to star him and pal Hugh Jackman in the roles originally taken by Jeff Bridges and Clint Eastwood. It was announced just before the legal action commenced that he was developing it and planned to produce it again through his company Maximum Effort and star in it. But who would want to join a film run by Reynolds? As a Hollywood Reporter wrote, albeit about Baldoni and Lively, who wants to work with people who go this far? Might Hugh Jackman suddenly find his schedule busy? Oh, Alison, that was a banger. Thank you. And it's something that the rest of us have been dancing around. Now, while Blake is known as the ultimate mean girl, and the text that came out in the lawsuit, the original lawsuit, that now, by the way, has been settled, aka basically thrown out, Ryan Reynolds is now on the hot foot. So tell me what you're hearing from Hollywood.
Well, I don't hear any enthusiasm for any of these Ryan Reynolds projects. And I think it's really interesting. I mean, you also at the same time, because he's still with William Morris and he's still with Ari Emanuel and, he's still very important to them and he's a guy with a fortune. But so when you get these profiles in Variety and the Hollywood Reporter all about, Blake's career is over, she's got to go away for a bit, Justin Baldoni's career is over, nobody mentions Ryan Reynolds. And actually, he should be like the number one talking point because his career and what happens to it is far more consequential than Baldoni, who no one had heard of before this, and Blake Lively, who's been, off having kids and, was in Gossip Girl. And that was, when I was a girl. So a long time ago. So yeah, Ryan Reynolds and what you do then, and what do you do with a star who people are turned off by? And I think that's what has happened over the long, what has it been? 9 months of Dirty Laundry aired, legal Dirty Laundry. People have just been so turned off by Ryan Reynolds because it's become clear that his behavior, look, no one's suggesting his behavior is criminal or actionable, but his behavior has been so cruel and he's been punching down. I think that's the crucial thing. This isn't a tussle between him and Dwayne Johnson. They didn't like each other on a set of Red Notice. Who cares? These are two grown men. They're both idiots. They're both overpaid. Fine. They can both have a huge ego. Fine. They fell out with each other. Who cares? When you're punching down on the little guy and then you're kind of insisting on, and for me, this is what the whole case is. It's not just enough that you took the movie from him and everyone loves you in it, but then you are so vindictive that you want to end this guy's career, even though he's a no one. And that's what Ryan Reynolds is complicit in. And actually, there was a lot of gossip columnists saying, as this went on and on and on, Ryan Reynolds is wanting Blake to settle, but actually that's not at all the story told in the legal papers, by the texts and by his actions. He is, if anything, more crazy to bring this guy down than Blake Lively is. And that's a really bad look.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because I did actually hear that he had wanted her to settle. Now, the reason why I heard he wanted her to settle was because the lawsuit itself was causing such damage, and he had never anticipated that. And so what I heard was that he wanted her to settle and they would continue the fight behind closed doors, if you will. But it's interesting that you bring up punching down. And this is what really angers me, because he has had other people. The guy in Deadpool, who was his co-star, a minor character, said he was horrific to him, and other people did, and Blake Lively as well. You know, once she was the star of Gossip Girl, you know, I was at Page Six during those years back in the early 2000s, and we heard constantly about how she would bully characters like Leighton Meester, or characters who she didn't think were as important, but people like Leighton Meester, and make really nasty jokes about Leighton Meester's mother having gone to jail and being like, what? It's funny. And no one thought it was funny. Unfortunately, this was all before the advent of the internet. So we in the press could write about it, but 2 days later, it would be on the Stanley's birdcage floor, you know, so people would forget about it quite quickly. And, you know, now people are bringing up these clips because, again, nothing dies on the interwebs.
Yeah, congratulations on your little bump. Up it comes 8 years later.
Thank you. And,
but, you know,
and the thing is, well, one more thing, Alison, because
yeah.
she also punched down because she was lovely to Paul Feig, the director, who's a famed director, much beloved. They are really nice to people that they think Hollywood loves. And they, you know, I always call it managing up. Like everyone else from here down can go to HE double hockey sticks, and everyone else is, oh my God, you're fabulous.
Yeah. And he's the king of those jokes that aren't really jokes, those really hurtful things you say to people that you think he thinks he can get away with because it's a joke. Someone was pointing out to me last week about all the things he said to Joe Keery, who he co-starred with, and he kind of pretended, and he's done this quite a lot with people, he kind of pretended to have a homosexual crush on him and sort of harassed him for fun. Yeah. And actually, I really have a problem with that because I think that's homophobic behavior. And Ryan Reynolds does it a lot, pretending to be sexually attracted to men and thinking this is funny. And I just don't think it's funny.
No.
So I think a lot of his behavior is kind of problematic. A lot of the directors, people like Taika Waititi, who directed him in Free Guy, he really ticked him off because he would come with ad libs that he'd written 4 or 5 for each scene the previous night, and he'd insist on running them all. And Taika Waititi has a script he's trying to shoot, damn it. And this guy thinks he's funnier, and he just flexes his power. And, you know, if it costs you money and you can't meet your, you know, your deadlines, your timings, the heck with you, you know, because he's him being, you know, him getting his jokes in the movie is more important than anything else. That's not someone who people really want to work with. Right?
No. And not only that, but like, I love that you brought up Taika Waititi. Okay. And by the way, thank you, Tracy, B06. I love that you brought up Taika Waititi because this guy is a genius. He wrote my favorite movie / TV show, What We Do in the Shadows. Okay. And that guy is...
I was waiting for which one it was going to be, thinking, what?
Oh, no. I mean, because literally everything Taika does, I love. But What We Do in the Shadows is just genius. And he also allows characters who he thinks are genuinely hilarious to kind of wing it as well. And I love that Ryan was just like, nope, I'm better. You know, and you're just like, oh, dude, come on. Just do the work, do the scene. And if you really, really think you're better, say, what about this? And the director can be like, sure, next. But it's really kind of crapping all over someone else's work, isn't it? It's like, no, back to me. I'm so much better than you. Yeah. And in a way, I do feel bad kind of like getting schadenfreude, but these two have been doing it for so long. And I have a question to ask you, because do you think it's him or do you think it's her? Do you think that they are two like-minded souls who found each other? Or do you think she looked at him and his way of dealing with people, of taking over movies, of rewriting things, and of bullying people, and thought, oh, this works for him and I'm going to do the same?
I think that he led her into it, and he was doing it long before she was. And you can look at what he did on Red Notice, where he worked with Dwayne Johnson, and they had seemed to kind of get on before, and then they didn't. They fell out really badly, and Dwayne Johnson, throughout, I love him for this, throughout the entire press tour, said with a big smile, "Oh, Ryan, oh, he's an asshole." Just kept on saying it, just kept on repeating it endlessly. "Oh, he's an asshole." Like, I dare you to think I'm joking, And then he was rewarded by, in the film Free Guy, Ryan created this character called Dude, big muscles, stupid, too stupid to say anything, and who would do this thing with his pecs, like
poop, poop, poop.
And then, hello, in Deadpool and Wolverine, he had Nice Pool, which was Justin Baldoni. So he is so sorry, but he's so vicious that he will actually pursue his own personal vendettas against people he's worked with by creating characters in movies to mock them publicly. Who does that? I mean, who does that?
Thank you. And the other thing is about that, what I love about The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, with the big smile and going, he's an a-hole, is that The Rock is arguably just as big, if not bigger, at least in box office, than Ryan Reynolds. So Ryan couldn't come back and say anything or, kind of do anything. He just had to take it. Now, Justin Baldoni, he was like, I'm going to steamroll you. I'm going to humiliate you. And boom, done. And it just, both of these guys, like The Rock, he has a very good reputation as a nice guy. Justin Baldoni, I know some people don't like him, whatever, but he tries to be a nice guy, at least to women, which is saying a lot more than you can for other people in Hollywood. And wow, it's balls with a Z. You know what I mean? And then for him to look at Blake and say, we're going to get you your Producers Guild credit out of this. And for all of you people who don't know, this is a big deal. This now means that Blake doesn't have to worry about people hiring her. She can produce her own movies. The problem is no one wants to distribute them. But, it's very much like, Now, let's talk about the shift in media sentiment when it comes to Ryan, because The Rock did it well, where he was like, he's an a-hole. And people are like, oh, The Rock, he's so funny. And not a lot of people, except for those of us in the media, actually cottoned on to what was really being said. And, oh, by the way, Juliet, thank you so much. But I just want to say, when did it really start? Did it happen during the movie, or did it happen at the lawsuit? When people started saying, oh, dude, Ryan.
I think people started to turn off Blake because of the way that she was marketing the film, but none of that touched Ryan, did it? And, all of these 3 movies he's in, they were all announced prior to the lawsuit being filed in December last year. So that tells its own story. Actually, interestingly, they're all produced by Ryan's company. So, he can't, so what he's in is stuff that he's doing. Nobody else has come calling for him and said, oh, Ryan, could you, be the new romantic lead in our film? I just think he became poisonous as the filings went on. So at first, it was all the backlash was all against the publicists, the whole we can bury anyone, all of that. And then Baldoni counter-filed and people started to look at Blake again, and the congratulations on the little bump, which had been a story in August, kind of that all resurfaced and everything. But it was really when they released those emails and texts to his agents, and when he was doing things like calling the Sony executives old people, and these are people who were literally 5 years older than him, and it was just so disrespectful. And I love the kind of terrified tone of one of his agents who said, I don't feel I can answer this in the way that reflects you adequately, so let's talk on the phone. because you've just sent me 1,000 words of literal black hatred, and nobody knows what to do with it. I mean, you start to feel sorry for these people who've probably been copying this from Ryan Reynolds for 10 years.
Well, and also, do you think people, I think it is smart for the Eloise movie to, he's going to be in it like, hi, and then, he's going to make all the money. So most people don't realize the money in Hollywood is really made on the production end. A few people at the top, a few stars will make huge paychecks, but the money is really for the producers. They put in the original money and they reap the massive gains, which is why everybody wants to be a producer. It's kind of like in the music industry, right? When, someone always gets a music credit, someone who like that song. What was it? My favorite nonsense song, do Barbara Streisand. And it's literally just saying Barbara Streisand over and over, and someone got paid millions of that. And every time we play Barbara Streisand, it goes. But it is interesting. People all want the money on the back end. They want a bigger slice of the pie, and God bless. I wish I had a huge slice of pie right now. Blueberry crumble. But it is fascinating to me that they were so arrogant. They didn't realize that by just bullying Justin, they could have gotten away with it. They could have gotten away with everything. And I do believe she wasn't actually going to file a lawsuit. She was only going to file a complaint with the California Commission. But by the way, she did that with the New York Times stuff. By the way, if you guys are hearing squeaking, that is Doug, who's decided to once again squeak on his Megan toy. We'll move on. But the thing is, I think she didn't really want a lawsuit because nobody wants discovery. And when Justin filed his lawsuit, that forced them to file a lawsuit and then say, of course, we were always going to file a lawsuit. But that really kind of screwed them. I think their bluff was called.
You wonder who on earth was advising them to do any of this, because this is the most unnecessary act of self-sabotage. I mean, it's incredibly stupid. So, yeah.
But I also wonder, Alison, if the people told them not to, but they did it anyway because they just wanted to put the nail in the Baldoni coffin, even though, frankly, they had already done that. He had lost his agent. He wouldn't have, he already had a bad rep among the A-list of Hollywood, thanks to these two. But, what they really wanted to do was take the sequel and run with it and also make sure he could never work again. And, I do think that this is fascinating because now we're going to get to our second little bit here. I'll never get over this. This is so ridiculous. So sorry. The fact that, and we all know this, we've talked about this before, her utter brand implosion. She claimed in the lawsuit that she had lost $161 million and that her beverage company, right off the bat, and this has been reported by Puck and other outlets recently, she's lost $22 million from Betty Booze. Betty Buzz, the non-alcoholic drink mix, is completely out of the mix now. And her hair care is the biggest loss leader at Target, down by $49 million. Now, you also know about Ryan's issue because he also had some brands where it was like, the heck? And neither of them thought that their little money-making stuff on the side would get hurt. Now, he didn't care. He had already sold his Mint Mobile, whatever the hell that is, for like $600 million. He had sold another brand for a couple $100 million. After his cut and after taxes, it is said the couple is still worth $300 million, but they did invest in the Betty Buzz, Betty Booze, and the Blake Brown, I mean, oh, all these B's. I tell you what, I love alliteration, Allison, but this is really tongue-tying me. And go ahead.
So I think, so what Ryan Reynolds has done is he's done the George Clooney tequila trick 2 or 3 times over. He doesn't need, none of them need these silly little brands. I think what we see with her brands is it's Meghan all over again. This is someone who must be being given advice. They must have lawyers. They must have people who've run a business before. And the only explanation for what's happened is that they simply haven't listened. And they've thought they know better. Because she launched the haircare brand. Great, with a profile in Vogue. Great, because Anna Wintour loves her. Fabulous. She's been wanting it all her life. Oh, how nice. I mean, her hair looks as dry AF the whole time. I don't understand how this person has a hairline, by the way. Anyway, moving on. But does she, this is very Meghan, does she post on Instagram every week, maybe 3 times? This is how I do my hair. Look at me using my product. Here I am in the shower. Woo, woo, here are my lather bubbles. No, she doesn't. She posts like 3 times and then that's it. This is my packaging. I really love it, which incidentally is weird, the packaging.
Yes, it is.
But she just doesn't behave like the person would have to behave to sell the product. And she repeated that non-trick again with the booze and the mixers. It is just haphazard. There is no strategy. I don't understand what the problem is.
Well, I think the strategy was just cut and paste, and unfortunately they saw, they were like, oh, booze is big now. We're going to do that. Oh, Beyonce came out with a hair care line, Secret. But the thing about Beyonce is Beyonce knows how to market. And Beyonce also understands her fan base. She understands that, yeah, they're interested in her. And yeah, she does have some fabulous hair when she does her real hair, because we know she loves some wigs. But she is also doing this. This is how I do it. She does the step by step. And, I think Blake was it was so cynical, wasn't it? It was like, everyone's doing booze now. I'm going to do it.
It's done in a way that's disrespecting your fans, because you're just treating them as cash cows. You're not actually treating them as people. You're not making a case for why you deserve their money or why you deserve their repeat custom, because you will get, as Meghan has found, you will get curiosity value. So people will go, oh, there's a jam here. There's a brand of conditioner I never used before. I'll try it once, right? Mm-hmm. That's not a business, okay? Mm-hmm. That's a launch. Fine, good for you. You then need that person to buy it every week.
Yep.
Or in case of jams, okay, maybe every couple of weeks. But you need people to come back. Right. You can't just sell it once. And what Blake has done with all of these businesses is she sold it once and then she's lost interest. And actually, she doesn't deserve to make money from it in that case.
No, you're absolutely right. They're both kind of, when I say both, I mean Blake and Meghan, because there are very strong ties and it's very lazy. It's like, oh, here's my real life over here. And now I'm just going to dabble, washing my hair, or bye, Stanley, bye. It's just ridiculous. It's kind of like, oh, you think I'm stupid. And then what's even bothered me more was that, her and Ryan, once again, they also own a marketing company, which does, by the way, the same thing over and over, the same kind of, oh, ha, ha, ha video over and over. They did it for, what was that? Gwyneth Paltrow, because Gwyneth Paltrow used to be married to Coldplay, the Coldplay couple, astronomer.com, right? That ad that Gwyneth did for them, like, you might have heard of Astronomer. It's in the news. That had been done before and before and before. And it was just, okay, you got one good idea. However, what really bothered me was that they thought, they knew how to market It Ends With Us better than anyone at Sony or Justin Baldoni, who owned the movie. And they also thought that it would be such a great idea to not push back the marketing and debut of the booze or hair care brand, but to just use the movie to push them both out. And obviously it all fell flat. I mean, a movie that is demonstrably not about florals and girlfriends, it's about domestic violence, which a lot of domestic violence takes place because of alcohol. And she might have great hair, but I don't want to look at Shohei while we're talking about domestic violence, right? And to blame Justin for all of that, and for when really the entire marketing of the movie, as it came out in the freaking lawsuit, was out of the brain hole of Ryan and Blake.
Yeah, although they did try and blame Sony for it. So this is Sony's marketing plan. I'm like, well, you went along with it. And, and I'm sure it wasn't Sony's marketing plan to have her booze on carts at the premieres and all of that. So of course that wasn't their plan. Of course that plan was from them. I mean, but again, it's disrespectful. They take us for idiots, these people.
Yeah, it is. And, it's funny because legal documents from Lively's own damages experts found in the Jeffrey Kinrich report revealed that management had serious doubts about the company's long-term sustainability and profitability in the competitive U.S. mixer market. This is for Betty Booze and Betty Buzz. And you're just kind of going, okay, you just don't want to listen to anyone because you're right. You're always right, Tootsie Roll. And it's just, it's infuriating. And again, karma, it's amazing, ain't it? But
and Ryan made money from the booze, didn't he? So maybe she thought, I can do it. Or maybe they both thought, she can do it. I've done it.
Yeah. Well, what the jaw-dropping thing for me was at the premiere, it was like, here's a drink named after each character. And what are you going to be like? I want the Riley. And then go and look at somebody and go, boop, I got the Riley. No, what? Stupid. And for those of you offended by that joke, I'm so sorry. But literally, it's like, why are you naming a drink after a domestic violence abuser? And why would anyone order it? Redonkulous. Anywho, they are said to be worth $300 million. But you and your colleagues over at the Daily Mail have been doing a lot of reporting. And I love this because, everyone thinks 300 million, it's a lot of money, but how liquid is it? Granted, they do have 4 kids. I mean, that's a lot. For me, that's excessive. I have Doug. That is 1. But you have 2. But, kids are expensive. But they still have $300 million. So why can't they pay their bills on their dream house in upstate New York? What is going on? They own a massive private 110-acre compound where they embarked on a multi-million-dollar luxury custom renovations. Of course, everything has to be custom. This construction has been stalled. 5 different contractors and subcontractors have filed mechanics liens totaling $2.1 million against this property and Ryan and Blake's associated LLCs for unpaid work and materials. And it's kind of sparked major public outcry on places like Reddit, YouTube, here, with critics pointing out the stark contrast between wearing hundreds of thousands of dollars in jewelry to high-profile events like, the Met Gala. The Met Gala, where her gown alone was $100,000. And local contractors are left holding the bag for millions. And this is also what bothers me. It's kind of like, here's us and here's the little people. The little people, whatever, but I've still got to look good.
Yeah, suck it up, Buttercup. I have to say, what about that house? Doesn't it look like, do you have Shoreguard? They're the storage people, and they have that little cupola, and then the great big, like a warehouse.
Yes.
I mean, that is the ugliest dream house.
It looks like a Home Depot.
Yeah, it is. Or maybe like a branch of Toys R Us. I mean, it is ugly, man. And who needs a house that big? What is wrong with these people?
I mean, it's tens of thousands of square feet. It's like, I get you got 4 kids. Maybe you don't like them. I don't know. Maybe a couple of them are your Archie and you don't really want to see them.
I looked at the plans, and I looked at the pool house. The pool house, I live in a nice, ordinary house with my 2 dogs, 2 children, husband. We're fine. Their pool house is bigger than my house, but it's not just bigger than my house. It's like half as big again as my house. I just don't understand what's going on.
Well, you know, and it's like they live in New York. I live in New York. Everyone knows New York apartments are not like Carrie's from Sex and the City or anything seen in Friends. New York apartments are a little bit like, hold on, I'm going to brush my teeth while putting on the tea kettle and the coffee. And oops, the muffins are out of the oven. You're doing 10 things at once because it's so small you can. They have a ginormous place in Tribeca where apparently, again, everyone has their own bedrooms. Yes, I say this with envy, but it is also huge. It's like 10,000 square feet, something ridiculous. So you're right. That house is crazy. However, this is what they want. They say they're going to get it. Why are their bills not being paid, Alison? They clearly have money to keep the lights on in New York. They clearly have money to get dolled up. And now I get that her wardrobe in It Ends With Us, which I believe she ended up keeping some of it, was $500,000, which again, if anyone saw that movie, how she could have paid $500 for that mess. I mean, girl, she should have just gone to Goodwill and she'd look better. But again, it's like, I'm going to pay for stuff, but see ya.
There has to be some kind of a conflict with the builders and what they're doing, because these guys have plenty of money. They could pay it and not notice the difference. So yeah.
Do you think the legal bills are hurting them? Because they are, once again, I mean, one does have to wonder, we've got, if we bring this back up, hold on, not that, it's been quoted, and I've done the math myself, that both sides likely spent $60+ million. So if you want to split it, $30+ million. Now, Justin Baldoni, I'm sure, had insurance on that.
Yes, he had insurance.
And
I heard it was over 100 million, and that was before. That was, when was that? When did I hear that? That would have been last year. I was told by someone involved in it that it was 100 million and rising. I think she's on the chain for about 35 million. They could afford it, but the continuing fight, which we're going to come to, is because they don't want to be seen to have to pay. So listen, they started the fight, but they don't want to pay for it.
Yes, it's insane. And, for those people out there who wonder, how can somebody have $100 million legal bill, $60 million, whatever? Let me tell you what, okay? Just a quickie. I moved into this new apartment, okay? My dream apartment, they jacked the rent. I had to leave. And I find this new apartment. I'm like, great, it's lovely. The day I moved in, I signed a 2-year lease. The day I moved in, scaffolding went up for the lifetime of my 2-year lease. And it's blocking light, it's blocking views, it's everything. The noise is incredible. Now, obviously, I work part-time from home, and I called a lawyer. I called 2 lawyers, and they were like, you might have a case, especially with New York housing laws, but I'm $500 an hour. So to write one letter would be $500 an hour. To pick up a phone, that's another hour. I might have gotten some deal on my rent, but it might have cost me $10,000, depending on if my landlords were going to go back and forth. So I was like, ugh, forget it. Now, their lawyers are $1,800 to $2,000 a lawyer, an hour, sorry. And they have teams. And when I say teams, I mean 10 to 20 working 60 to 70 hours a week. So y'all do the math on that one. For TikTok, what's it been? 2 years now, Alison?
Yeah.
And counting? Because now they're saying we don't want to, we're not gonna settle. We're not gonna walk away and just lick our wounds and hope everyone forgets. No, it's ongoing. Tell us about this, Alison, because my jaw is too dropped.
Well, so this all rests on an interpretation of a really, really new law. And the law is designed to protect people who have made a complaint of sexual harassment from being sued themselves in a retaliatory way for defamation. And this is the law which Blake is trying to use as her fig leaf to cover her. The judge is, I've been reading, I wasn't in court, but I've been reading it, and the judge is baffled. He doesn't know how to apply the law. He doesn't know what to do. He was completely astonished when they said they basically want another trial. He's like, no. So we're waiting for him to rule, and we'll see. And it's really hard to predict what's going to happen because, as I say, it's really new law and it's really untested. And she is trying to claim that she is in some way the victim, when actually we all understand and know that the up and down of this is that she launched the legal action and she has been the aggressor throughout. However, she is in the victim chair, and we'll see. There'll be a ruling, and then I think then it actually will be over.
Oh, God. Should we just throw a little party, Alison? Like when it's over, it ended finally with us.
We will. You and I are going to meet soon, and I think we should like make a special little video of us toasting it. It ends when it ends.
I'm bringing the party hats when I come to London.
Yes.
I mean, it's absolutely,
and a straw. No. Nobody
straw.
mentioned the boozing. Yeah,
we're drinking straight from the bottle of not Betty booze, because she's cans and I don't do cans. Actually, who am I kidding? I do cans. I'm from Ohio and Kentucky, but let's pretend I'm a snob for a minute. I'll have
a can on the train. I think that's okay. When it's like a little picnic on the train and you're having a can, I think that's acceptable.
Okay, I love a picnic on a train, but you know what else I like? A flask. Wait. Although I do think,
I'm not sure I can go there with you, Paula.
No. Okay. I'm pretty sure you can. Anywho, but the point is, like, let it go. At what point does a pit bull drop the bone? I mean, you've got Justin who's just like, oh, geez, okay, fine. Now, this guy's career, we're going to give him a year. I don't know about you, but he could do pretty much anything at this point. I'd be like, I will spend some dollars to support you. But, he could be like, I wrote a documentary about a ladybug. And I'd be like, yes, okay, I will do it. Watching, because I feel bad for him. But it's definitely at this point, why can't she let it rest? I know it's her ego. And what is their option? Because nobody likes her. You look at her YouGov pollings, they're through the toilet. Right? Like, I don't even know if you could find it in the sewer right now. It's that bad.
I know, and Taylor Swift doesn't like her either. Taylor Swift doesn't like her either. Nobody likes her. No. Even her friends don't like her.
No, she's had to find a whole new batch of new friends, all based off of her best friendy relationship with B, Anna Wintour's daughter. So it's like Salma Hayek, whose husband owns LVMH. Of course, they're going to hang out. You got the Vogue making them do it. But I wonder, at some point, how does she fix this? Can she fix this? She looks horrific. So does Ryan. Nobody wants to really support him. He's a little bit smarter, I will say. He's like, I'm going to go produce some stuff, not be in it. And also, you'll notice recently when it got really lousy, they went over to Wales and they was like, look, we're cheering on a soccer team. We're so Ted Lasso.
Yeah, trying to play that likability, trying to recapture the likability. I mean, and again, this is very much a Harry and Meghan question. When it's gone, what do you do? I don't know what the answer is. I don't know if you can get that back when you've lost the fact people would like you. And, you know, also, okay, so if you have an actress who can't sell a shampoo, she definitely can't sell a movie, right?
Oh.
So there is a problem. Then these things are all linked, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's down to us wonderful people, us normal people, and what we think about them and how we have called it. You know, not some conspiracy, nothing. This is all done by their own hand, their own account, and normal people don't like what they've seen.
Isn't
and I don't know how
fascinating?
you just have to wait for the smell to go, I guess. I mean, I don't know.
It's a little skunk-like, but you know, it is fascinating. I'll just end on this, Alison. The power of the fans and the power of this is really when social media and things come into play. You know, 20 years ago, you and I could write about it like, something smells here. And then other people would be like, it does smell. Oh, something shiny over here. And they'd forget, they'd go see a movie. But now it's like, no, it really stinks. And we're going to talk about this. And no, the Hollywood machine no longer works the way it has worked. And the only thing I would say is that the power of social media is being corrupted. You know, there was that new report that there are now more bots on social media than actual humans. So people just be careful. But Alison, I want to say thank you so much. I'm going to ask you to wait backstage for a hot minute. But thank you, you guys. Everyone follow Alison. She is amazeballs. And she's the reason why I subscribe to the Daily Mail. And she's on Substack, Alison Boshoff. All right, Alison, I'll see you in a hot minute. Okay, you guys, you know I love you. And you know it's now the time in the show for the turd bird. That's him over there back when he was young and thin. And this is him now figuring out where we now live. You know, what? Okay, go. That's him barking in real life. Okay, come on. Oh, he's so confused. Hi, where's the apartment? Can you find it? Can you find? Where is? Hi. Yep. Well, the good news is he found it eventually. And we're home. He's now scream barking at something. And you know what, you guys? I just want to again say thank you so much. I really love this community and I love talking with you guys. And of course, I will answer your comments after, because sometimes while I'm live, I can't do the comments because I don't have a moderator. We'll move on. But anyway, like, subscribe, hit the bell. That way we can always be together. One. And I will talk to you soon. Thank you. Bye.